Yeah, it's true. I spent $60,000 on what is probably the world's dumbest smart home. At least that's what my wife would say if you asked her. And I know you guys are probably just cringing at that number, and Ellie is the first in line. But building a smart home was a huge discussion that we had even before we broke ground on our house. And to hopefully put your minds a little bit at ease, that's not just the smart home hardware. That's everything from the ground up, from pre-wire, wiring, installation, labor, programming, hardware, and everything in between. We've had our smart home since we moved in, so about 2.5 years. And the question is, do we like it? The short answer is no. No, we don't. But I want to talk with you guys about the longer answer and why it right now is a no. We use Control 4 as our smart home system right now. So I want to talk with you about that. And later, we're going to talk about how we protect our data with Bitdefender. But first, let's dive into Control 4. Control 4 is a dealer-facing, comprehensive smart home automation control system. It allows you to integrate and control various devices like door locks, lighting, security cameras, security systems, thermostats, and more, all through a user-friendly interface. And that can come in the form of an app, a touchscreen on your computer, and sometimes even a remote control. You can even use Alexa or Google to do voice commands to control your home as well. In short, Control 4 provides seamless and customizable control over your entire home. That's the goal of it anyway. That's what it's supposed to be like. So I want to go over some pros and cons with you, and some of the pros and cons that I've experienced while having the smart home in our house. Okay, pro number 1 for Control 4 is that you're able to control essentially your entire house using just your phone, a tablet like this on your wall, your computer, or even switches like this. You can also use voice commands using Google or Alexa. It's customizable and scalable, which means you can make it for the biggest businesses that are out there, or you can make it for residential homes. It's installed and supported by professionals, so you don't have to touch anything. Once it's set up, hopefully that's the end of it. You don't have to go through and change anything, so set it up and you're done, your house is running. At least that's how it's supposed to be. So let's dive into the cons list. The barrier of entry is kind of high. The initial cost is more than you would probably expect or would want for a smart home. The initial setup is expensive, and there are probable ongoing expenses for Control 4. While this was in the pros list, I'm going to add it to the cons list as well. It requires professional installation. So that will introduce added costs and limited adjustments if necessary to the mix. It is a very complex system. It's not something that you're able to make adjustments to by yourself. You have to consult with your dealer, have them come out or remote access in if you need any changes done to your smart home system, which is also an added cost. Since it is a proprietary system, there is limited compatibility with some third-party devices. You're dependent on professional support if you need to make any changes, repairs, updates, or modifications. Trust is a huge factor when working with your dealer. They essentially have access to your entire smart home, including security systems, security cameras. They can remote in and make any modifications or changes, which also can be a plus, so they can remote in and make changes that you need. And finally, there's very limited DIY customization. If you prefer to make changes yourself, it's very difficult to do so. They do have a few options with things like Composer Home Edition and When Then. It's like their version of if this then that, but it is pretty limited on what you can do. So what was my experience like with Control 4? As I mentioned before in the cons list, I was hesitant to use their own camera hardware and internet hardware, so I opted to use my own. While that did make the dealer a little bit upset, I certainly was more comfortable that way. I think my biggest hang-up with our dealer was the programming and light switch setup. How it normally works is when the house is finished, they'll program a few light switches other than just on and off, and you'll get used to living that way for a little bit and then make any adjustments as you find your preferred button layout for your light switches. Ours just never really came back to finish that despite our communication efforts to do so. So we are left with switches that are unlabeled or have permanent marker written on them when they should be backlit and engraved with what the button is supposed to do. So in short, Your experience with Control 4 is widely dependent on your dealer. If you have a great dealer, stick with them. So rather than just sit and complain about what wasn't finished or what wasn't done, I took it upon myself and made changes and adjustments where I could. Using a plugin that I found from a programmer online called Home Connect, I was able to basically translate everything from Control 4 into Apple's Home app. And if you don't know, we have lots of Apple products in this house. So what we were able to do is take all of the hardware, the framework that existed in the house with Control 4, and put it into a much more user-friendly, convenient way. Apple is very well known for making very user-friendly software. So that's a huge plus for not only me, but my wife especially. She doesn't want to have to learn how to program, control something that she's not familiar with. An Apple device she is familiar with and is able to not only use controls on her phone in the app, but she's able to use Siri to control our home. So I will say I got huge bonus points for that. At some point, I'd love the best of both worlds, where Control 4 is complete and set up, and I have the user-friendliness of Apple Home, where I can do things as simply as say, "Hey Siri, close the dining room blinds." But for now, I want to show you the brains of how all of this works in my server room, and then show you some of my favorite automations. Okay, so behind the store, this is the brains of the house. Everything that is controlled in the house can be turned on or off, controlled in some way. The brains are in here. Before I open it, I want to preface that about 20% of the mess is caused by me. The rest of the 80% was like that when we moved in. This is the server room. Yes, lo and behold, this is the messy server room with all of the cables and wire. I mean, it's so bad, guys. Guys, it's just so bad. The closet is so messy. There's wires and equipment everywhere. Although the server closet might be messy, my digital closet is perfectly organized. Many people use a home security system to protect the physical boundaries within their home. But what about your digital life as well? Thanks to our sponsor, Bitdefender, we're able to protect the digital side of our life as well, especially at home. Bitdefender is a global leader in cybersecurity that has you protected against cyber threats. Bitdefender Premium Security is their top tier plan, offering next-gen protection and privacy for Windows, macOS, iOS, and Android. And secondly, it takes care of your online privacy with unlimited VPN and solid password management, because let's be honest, who's remembering their passwords these days? They've also added some cool new features like crypto mining protection, which prevents the bad guys from coming in and using your home hardware to do crypto mining without your consent, and email protection, which scans all your incoming emails to keep you safe from scammers or phishing. So if you want the best in protection and privacy, or want to learn more about Bitdefender Premium Security, I'll have a link down in my description. Okay, we are in the server room, and I want to show you everything that was here when we moved in and everything that I have added since. The UDM Pro is our internet gateway. It brings the internet in from our ISP and gives me easy control over the internet in our house. There's a few Ethernet ports, which is amazing, and there's a hard drive bay in case you want to do surveillance storage as well. These are both 24-port Arachnus switches. They're network switches with power over Ethernet, and they're used to connect and power devices like our TVs, computers, cameras, and access points, so we're not hogging up Wi-Fi bandwidth. The Control 4C A10 is a high-performance automation controller that talks to all of the Control 4 compatible devices in our home. The EA5 is essentially the same thing, just a less powerful version of it. And of course, the Mac Mini, the little home server that could. This little guy actually runs all of our security cameras on Scripted. Scripted is an open source video integration platform. Using various plugins, Scripted can receive streams from a wide range of cameras and send them to other platforms like HomeKit, Google Home, Alexa, and Home Assistant. Plus, it can be an NVR that provides 24/7 recording, receiving smart detections and notifications to your phone or your computer. We also have some open source home automation applications like Homebridge, Docker Desktop for our Docker containers, and our Plex Media Server. This is a TerraMaster D6 320. It's a direct attached storage device that I use for like redundant storage of videos, files, and more. This is a little bit more permanent storage. It's a network attached storage device that I use for storing and sharing files over our home network. So if I have a video that I'm working on and I want to back it up, I can access it easily. And last but not least, we have our QNAP NAS. This is another another network attached storage device. And in fact, this was my first NAS, and it has all of our old videos from the very beginning of our journey on YouTube. So yeah, the server room is super, super messy, but inside the file system, the Docker containers, the security system, and the home automations all run so well. And I'm so proud of how far I've come from the very beginning stages of not liking the home security system to what they are now. Now I want to show you what I can do. So what's one of the most important things in the world that you can do with a home server? Well, the answer is very simple. You can create private servers for your kids to play Minecraft with their friends, right? Mm-hmm. So Jackson's just playing a little Minecraft with Ellie, who lives in Tennessee. So pretty cool that we're able to have a little private server just for them to play on. And to do that, I just have that server running inside of a Docker container on the Mac Mini. So here's the first automation that we run just about every single morning. We simply give the command, "Hey Siri, good morning."
Good morning.
Siri will play our favorite morning playlist and open up the blinds to let in that natural daylight. That right there is a door contact sensor, which allows me to do automations like when I walk into the office, the lights will turn on. This little guy right here is a motion detector. I also have the lights in my office set up that if there's no motion detected after a few minutes, the lights will automatically turn off. That way I'm not stuck in here sitting at the computer working, the lights will automatically turn off. This will keep them on for me. But as soon as I leave, it'll wait a few minutes, and if there's no motion detected, the lights will turn off. Some of the best examples of home automations are the ones that you don't even realize that are working because they're so seamless with what you're doing. For example, our pantry. When we open the door and there's motion detected, the lights will turn on. We use it so much that I kind of forget it's there, and when it doesn't work, it drives me crazy. So let's give it a shot. Ba-ba-da-ba! And then after a couple minutes, the lights will automatically turn off when there's no motion detected. This gate right here gets used a lot. The kids are running in and out of the front and backyard, and there's one problem with the gate, is that if the handle isn't turned, it doesn't get closed. So if the gate isn't closed, that means the dogs can push on it and get out. So what I did to fix that, you may have seen on Instagram. I put a little contact sensor down here that will alert me that the gate is not fully closed. And how I know the gate has been left open, there's 3 different ways. I'll get a notification on my watch or phone.
The garden gate has been left open.
The HomePod will announce it to me. Or this little red light will illuminate in our kitchen. Then it's just a matter of who can get to the gate first, me or the dogs. You know, that actually makes me wonder, if the dogs hear the HomePod say the patio gate has been left open, will that be like a Pavlovian response where they'll hear it and be like, oh, the gate's open. I'm gonna run to it as fast as I can before Dad gets here to do it. Only time will tell. This automation helps for when you need to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and you don't wanna blind your spouse. We have a motion sensor in our bedroom, and then between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., or usually when it's just dark, the motion sensor will turn on the bathroom light just above the toilet to 1%, which is the perfect amount of light that you need to be able to see where you're going and not too much light to blind me or Ellie while we're sleeping. I was able to program one of these Control 4 buttons to actually do something that we use all of the time. You may remember seeing some of the permanent marker on the switches. Well, these ones have worn off because we actually use these buttons. It is an all on, night, and all off. So we have a button that we can push, turns all the lights on in the kitchen and the living room. Then we hit the night button, it turns it down to 2%, which is just the right amount of light for when we're hanging out, visiting with friends, and it's dark and we want the kids to settle down. And then at the end of the day, when we're going to bed, I can hit this one button and we'll turn all the lights off in the house, except for a very select few where they'll turn off at midnight. So that automation I was able to program with Control 4, but I'm also able to do that with Apple Home. With a simple command of Goodnight Siri with my voice or on the button on Apple Home, I'm able to do the same exact thing. So there's a couple different ways to accomplish the same automation. We've had a few people come to our house early in the morning before the sun comes up, especially in the winter time before the sun rises too early and it's dark outside. And let's be honest, no one likes it when someone comes to your house, it's dark and you don't know who they are. So I have an automation set that when there's motion detected from the doorbell camera or our security camera, the lights in the foyer and the porch will turn on. So we're able to have the lights come on the inside and they're able to have the lights turn on the outside. That allows me to see better on the cameras and allows me to know that they know that I know they're here. One of my more classy automations is just before sundown in our bedroom and in the front room, all of the lights above, like the cam lights, will turn off and then lamps will turn on. I love how it just gives a subtle vibe change as things wind down for the day. I love how easy it is to turn on, off, or even dim some of the lights with the Home app just with a touch of a button. But I can also use Siri voice commands to turn things off. Turn off the kitchen lights. Or even set the dimness of them. Set the kitchen lights to 2%. Not only do I have these lights turn on automatically when this door opens, but when any of the garage doors open for the cars, the lights will turn on as well. And that only happens after sunset because we have plenty of light coming in through the windows and the garage doors. Some of these automations have been extremely simple to set up and only require the Home app to do. And that's really what I love about the automations that I've been able to do connecting these two systems. I've been able to make really cool automations really simply using just the Home app. And if I have to expand beyond that, I can use Home Assistant and code a couple things like I did for that red light in the kitchen. Now there's even more automations that I didn't show. I didn't even talk about scripted in great detail. So if you have any questions, I would love to see them in the comments down below. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and we'll see you next time.